Welcome everybody to the seasonal diet, eating what our ancestors ate when they ate it like we were evolved to do. Figs. This Christmas treat is actually in top season right about now, and as usual we will speak about its history and our ancestral diet. The history of the fig is similar to that of the date. It is native to the Mediterranean and Middle East, but the fig is actually one of the very oldest fruits we have evidence of cultivation on in the whole world actually. Almost 10,000 BC we have found fossils of these in the modern country of Jordan, giving us the impression that at least figs were cultivated at that time and possibly even before that. This is before even some of the most ancient first cultivated plants like the wheat or the legumes. Figs would have also, of course, been foraged and eaten wild before that. So if you are from the Mediterranean or the Middle East, especially near the coasts or rivers, figs have definitely been in your ancestral diets more than anything else that we have knowledge of pretty much from that region. Further on in time, figs come up first in the written sources from ancient Greece up till 3,000 years ago. And by that time, figs were actually described as being widely cultivated there too in ancient Greece and Rome, and we find other evidence of it being eaten all the way from places to Afghanistan, all the way to Portugal after that. So if you are anywhere along those areas, along the Silk Road, or along the Mediterranean, figs have definitely been in your ancestral diet for thousands of years. So it's mostly grown in warm and dry places, but figs tend to come up most around the rivers and valleys with a bit more moisture in these warm, dry climates. It can be grown in other regions though. We have records of it being grown in the north of Europe, surprisingly, but this was not until much later on in history, about the 1500s. Also around that time is when figs started to be brought to the Americas and other places the Europeans settled. So even in these places it has been in some people's diets for a few hundred years, not very long, but if you look at the Northern European history, it could be longer than we think. When the fig is fresh, it is of course juicy and sweet, but it's not very easily transported and preserved. So fresh figs is definitely more in the Mediterranean and Middle Eastern ancestral diets, but figs are one of the best fruits to dry and preserve. When you do this, it makes it very easy to store and transport and has a very long shelf life. So dried figs are definitely something that the people all the way in the north of Europe would have had access to through trade for thousands of years. So fresh figs, like I said, they are in season from the late summer to the autumn. That is the time to be eating them fresh if your ancestry is in the Middle East or the Mediterranean. After the harvest, you can give them a little time to dry and maybe ship if they had to be transported, and then the people in the north of Europe would have started to get them in their diet in the late autumn, and they could have eaten them all winter if they were dried, like I said. So pretty much exactly like when we normally eat these today, and it's a great treat around Christmas time right about now. Not just dried, but in jams or biscuits or cookies, all great winter snacks that our ancestors would have had access to for a very long time.